I'd like to call to order this March 7th meeting of the East Ascension Drainage District Number 1 Board of Commissioners. Madam Secretary, if you'll make note that Commissioner Ogeron, Commissioner Melanson, Commissioner Turner, and Commissioner Cagnolotti are not here tonight. Mr. Robert, will you please lead us in the invocation, and followed by the pledge?
God, thank you for bringing us here. Help us get the drainage work in the parish done tonight. Help us get all of the issues and the vegetation in the parish and the waterways dealt with quickly and easily. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much.
Are we on? Are we on? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If there's anyone here who would like to comment on any item on this agenda, please see the secretary. She'll provide you with a red or green card, and you'll be called upon at the appropriate time to speak. Item number 4, and there are no additions to the agenda of which I'm aware at this point. And item number 4, the acceptance of the minutes. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the February 7th meeting. Have a motion by Councilman Robert, a second by Councilman Mason. Are there any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. On to the chairman's report. I don't have a report this evening. I'm not aware of any other announcements that need to be made, but I'll defer to the chairman, to the parish president, or anything you need to say, sir.
No, Chair, not at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. Item number 6, general business. A, approval of an amendment, number 5, for Lifehouse to extend the contract term 1 additional year through July 14th, 2024, and increase the amount by $400,000 to bring the new contract total to a not to exceed $1,099,500 for labor purposes.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Mr. Samuel.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm pleasantly surprised to be the first item up tonight.
So if we're good for our presentation? All right, there we go. So from the last meeting, I did some homework and digging on an overview to give y'all a quick summary of this contract.
Mr. Samuel, will you give me 1 second? In the sound room, we're not hearing him really well. And typically we do. Can you adjust? Can that mic be adjusted? Thank you so much.
Okay, can you hear me?
Better.
Okay. All right, so we entered into the contract July 15th, 2001 with the original of $49,500. We amended it on the 25th to increase the contract amount by $300,000. And February 17th, y'all voted to accept a new rate increase to $18.92. On July 14th, we renewed it for another year. On the 18th is our last contract amount increase of $350,000. Our current contract amount is currently at $699,500. We're here to seek to renew for an additional year and to amend the contract for an additional $400,000 for $223,000. Wanting to get the renewal up in step for our growing season, so want to make sure we know what we have going into our growing season. So what we're currently doing right now, vegetation is currently using a maximum of 16 laborers. We've got 12 split into 2 independent crews for hand cleaning servitudes and our adopted laterals where needed. We have 4 that supplement our litter and debris crews. In major drainage, our boat crews are using 4 to supplement parish labor for tree removal and spraying. And also in major drainage, we have the excavator. On the excavator crews, we're using 3 for equipment spotting and general hand labor. For the entirety of the contract, over 551 work orders have been completed under this contract since August of 2021, either with a partial labor supplement to our existing parish personnel or the entirety of the crews being contract labor. The biggest two, which I've been consistently showing y'all in these reports, 355 of them were for cleaning the servitude, and 148 trash and debris on our parish and state highway contract. What we've done and completed each year and the cost associated with it, 61 in 2021 at a cost of $76,508.65, 414 completed in 2022 at a cost of $479,478.79. And for 2023, up until I ran this report, was I think about a week after our last meeting, 53 completed so far in 2023 at a cost of $72,635.86. The graph displays a quick overview showing the production specifically for this contract. Last October, some of my predictions were correct. We were able to satisfy all the remaining requests from our 2022 mowing season before the start of our mowing season in 2023. We finished right around the early part of February. The graph that y'all are seeing is what I showed y'all back in October, that our production was being outweighed by incoming calls by about 2 to 1. So it took us up until February to totally clear out that backlog specifically for this crew. Our hand labor crews, okay, I got ahead of myself, finished our last outstanding work from 2022, and I predict that vegetation's expense for the same level of service in through the next cutting season is forecasted to be around $400,000. So quick comparison with our current contract labor rate being at $18.92 per hour. That does include the 2 vehicles that they use and the operating expenses of them for 2 independent crews for hand cleaning. The comparable position for a parish worker is a maintenance tech 1, and the total overhead costs that I got from finance, including retirement, insurance, and all the other things with that, comes to about $22.22 per hour. Of course, that does not include the vehicles and operating expense. That's just the cost for each personnel. Going by just that cost alone, our minimum is about 17% savings per hour. If we were to include the parish vehicles to run those crews, it would be about 27% cost saving per crew. Anybody have any questions?
So I had a motion and a second to approve. Are there any questions? Hearing none, are there any objections?
I got a question.
I didn't see you come up there, Dal.
That's okay.
Go ahead, Dal.
Mr. Johan, good presentation. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So I guess I would just ask, this is just general questions. I'm certainly not against this contract or anything, just making sure to cover all bases.
Okay.
Is this, I know when we started this, it kind of replaced the sheriff's contract. It was like $187,000 a year. So now we're up to, I'm assuming annual. What are we up to annual? Because I'd ask that. Or is it
Total
around
or
300?
just for last year?
Just in general, because the 400,000 had to come from somewhere. So
Let's see. I know we were about, how much do we have left, Todd? Do you remember?
So I pulled that number. So the contract amount in the finance report is not correct. It has contract amount at 430,000 with, you have used 329,000, so you got 100K remaining.
Per 6 months. You're looking at about 700 per month, per year, annual.
Okay. Since you actually know that, we'll go ahead and say that.
Okay, so Dow,
What's up, Ty?
how you doing, bud?
Good, man.
That is figured on what we're figuring about 700,000 per year if we was doing a complete calendar year. This 400,000 would be figured on for about 6 months, or right at the end of the growing season. So this is not the total amount for a one-year contract.
Okay, well, that seems high, but I mean,
Well, and it's not actually figured on our vegetation group only.
okay.
There are 2 branches of drainage that are also using it as well.
Yes, we've actually branched out, and it's being used by major drainage as well. I think we're up to probably 8 or 9 employees in major drainage, so that's coming out of the same budget. So as a vegetation only, we're thinking we can get through a 6-month period, and with about 350,000 if we was to stick with just hand cleaning crews, with about 16 guys.
Okay, so I guess that's what I'm asking, as this evolves, I mean, is this sufficient legally, like, just to keep adding to it? Because it seems like we started off as hand cleaning, now we're actually
Yes,
moving
it's
into other
evolving
jobs.
to-
So I'm just asking the question,
Yeah.
not against it, just asking the
Right,
question.
right. Okay, so the answer would be to do a hand cleaning for Lifehouse contract. We're looking at about 350,000 a year,
Right.
a 6 months, excuse me.
Okay,
As this evolves, it's becoming a great asset for us in all departments.
Yep.
And so as Johan mentioned, the savings of a Lifehouse member versus a parish employee, the savings on it is quite substantial.
Yep.
And the work we're getting out of them is quite substantial. So it is growing, and it's costing. But as he showed the numbers as well, we're getting something for our residents as
February
completed.
is also the first time that
No,
I've been here that we are also actually able to complete the work order request load.
okay. No, and guys, I don't doubt any of this, I'm just making sure.
Yeah.
This started off as something to replace the sheriff's comment, and now we're actually moving into, we're not replacing, but it's taking the place of jobs that we would otherwise hire. And I understand the savings, but would it make sense, and Clint, you can answer this certainly, I mean, would it make sense to, part of the budgetary process, right? So this money that started off one place, now it's growing quite a bit to the tune of 700,000. Do we need to structure this differently to properly capture it out of the right buckets, or is this just, because we're just adding on to, now we're using different departments and.
It's under drainage, so it's in the same department, although drainage is split up between vegetation and major drainage and minor drainage. So, it's such a labor-intensive field of work that we utilize these guys in the boat crews, we utilize them in regular drainage, major drainage, just because of the labor market so intense, and they've really sent us a lot of great workers. So, and I've said it before, sometimes they do some of the labor that our employees don't want to do, and they do a great job at it. And then that's getting down in those ditches, and obviously, we don't have regional sewer, and so you know what that means. So they're doing some of that nasty work for us, and they're getting it done. And it's about level of service is what it's about, and we're getting a savings from that. So, when Johan, Ron, or Jade come to me and say, hey, we're short here,
Right.
well, then can we supplement with Lifehouse? Because the savings we get on not having to have additional benefits, vehicles, and all the other things that our regular parish employees have, it's a tremendous savings for us just to be able to utilize Lifehouse. But it's all under the drainage umbrella, so there's no separation of having to separate funds. It's all coming from under this board here, and it's under that umbrella.
I'd like to add something to that, Dow. Go way back in time when those contracts were in place. That labor that we got from the other format was also utilized in drainage operations. There's a need for shovel work in drainage in these servitudes. You just can't get equipment in, right? And then not only that, you had Hurricane Ida hit us last year, and there was a lot of just chainsaw work and nonstop, hard, intense labor. But on top of that, the labor field this day and time to fill these positions that we do have vacant. We can't get people to come to the interviews right now. So that's kind of that struggle. So I can see where we may try to offset this and cut some back, throttle it back, if we do start filling in some of those open vacant positions with some people and get them on board. But we're having trouble filling those lower end labor grade positions, with staff that want to come on permanent, and we would love to do so, but we're just having those challenges. So I think that's some explanations to go along with your concerns.
I'm not questioning any of that, certainly understand it, just, as we grow this contract, are we bypassing some kind of bid law or anything like that? That's what I'm asking. I'm not against it. If it's producing good work and savings, let's keep doing it, but, I just think these questions arise in my head. Are we bypassing something where we're just adding and giving work away, or are we supposed to be bidding out some of this, like temporary staffing and things like that?
It wouldn't be in a bid like we're bidding a project, which has, obviously state regulations against. This is more about employment. We use other employment agencies. There's no limits to that. There's no state law that regulates that. But legal's welcome to chime in here at any point if you want to say if we're breaking any laws or anything like that.
No, we are doing contract labor, and I talked with finance about this this morning, and we have a huge savings that we're getting going through this process. So it all checks out from our standpoint.
Okay. That's all I had.
All right, Mr. Lawler.
Do we get the same 23 people? I saw that we have 23 employees, or does it rotate?
Yes, it's the same crews that come daily.
Okay. How long do they stay with us?
Same working hours as our DPW. Same working hours, same days, 4 days a week from 6:30 to 5.
Do we have roll-off, though, like those 23 people? What I mean, is it the same 23 people, week in, week out, or do people rotate in and out?
There are some rotation in, but it's a matter of Lifehouse's schedules. For the most part, obviously, once one of the gentlemen go through the program and graduate, which is a 12-month program, we'll roll one in his place. But for the most part, Aaron, it's the same 24. And I say 24. That number differs. It's different weeks, depending on how many we need. But yes, it's the same group of guys that come daily, unless there's a changeover on the Lifehouse's end.
Gotcha.
Mr. Robert.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a few points with using the contract labor. We're not even necessarily taking jobs that we would give to people otherwise if you look at the nature of the work that they're dealing with. Because, kind of as Ron was talking about, when we're dealing with nature, sometimes of the year, even without a disaster, even without storms, your grass grows way more 7 months out of the year, 4 months out of the year than it does the rest of the year. Things happen. And our ability as the parish to have the resources to get more employees in these times, in these even seasons, it's not what Lifehouse has to offer. And in the same token, it's given these guys at Lifehouse an opportunity to come in here and to work and to get back on their feet and to get a taste of the workforce. And that sets an opportunity for the future for both of us. I know we have hired some people out of Lifehouse, and hopefully we'll continue to hire some people after graduation in the future. So I don't really want to look at it necessarily as denying people, and I'm not saying you're saying we're denying people employees or, not giving people jobs that should have jobs, but, more so is more flexibility in how many people we use at different times of the year. I do appreciate what they do, and I've worked with them in some different things here and there, and it's always good to work with a group of guys that want to be there and enjoy what they're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robert. Aaron, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you have another question?
Oh, no, that was it.
Okay, thank you. So I know our goal initially was to hire from these folks. We hoped that that would happen. Have we been able to realize that goal?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you
Matter of
Excellent.
fact, we have a superior leader that I feel is
About people
been
we've
great
hired.
to our team
Oh,
and has
yeah.
helped vegetation. You see some of the documentation that these guys are producing. They're hiring people from this program and others in our own staff. I think that whole department has really come a long way. And this program is just another tool in their arsenal that I feel like is very important to what we do. And the level of service that we've now created, that we're hitting a certain level there. So to sustain that, I think we're absolutely going to need to keep this in place.
One more question, if I may, Mr. President, then I'll recognize you. So when we hire these people from Lifehouse, we're hiring them as, under this contract, but when we take one that said, look, you have done a great job, we want you to work for the parish. So that person comes in as a parish employee at the rate that any other employee would be hired at, and all of the benefits that are a part of that package. Am I right? Okay, and we have done that.
We can see their skill
Yes.
sets before we hire them.
We actually just finished a round of interviewing for maintenance tech 2 spot for a tractor sprayer driver, and our selected candidate was one of their recent graduates.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he's actually here tonight in the back.
I'm so excited. That's
And we do
a
have
huge
Wayland
part
here
of
as
this. I
Yeah.
thank you very much for bringing these folks so that we can see that.
We also have another supervisor that came from the Lifehouse, Mr. Wayland Walden, is also in the
I
back showing
remember
his
Mr.
support.
Whalen. Hi. So I'm really glad to see that. I mean, people who are at the Lifehouse are in unfortunate situations. There's no doubt that I do not want parish government to take advantage of those people. We want them to be cared for and given opportunity, and that was the purpose of entering into this program, not to just put people in hard places into hard places. So I thank you for that. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Mr. President, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, so, as a parish, we are blessed. We are creating more jobs, and we are creating a very competitive standpoint with our jobs created in the private sector. And so therefore, it's difficult to find these type of positions at these levels. And so Lifehouse is providing that service through their program, which is benefiting these men and women, because there's both men and women. And so it's really just a great partnership, because I anticipate, as y'all know, because y'all approved some ITEPs today, as well as many in the past and more to come, that this labor market is going to get even tighter, and and that's a blessing. I mean, it is a true blessing for this parish. We were currently rated the #1 place to live, and employment was a big part of that. And we have the highest medium income in the state. And so, we are blessed here, but this program allows us to provide a service for our citizens that I don't know. I think we would have trouble. I think that we couldn't, but we would have difficulties in providing that service without this program.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Wagaspan.
I just wanted to clarify, I heard somebody say that breaking the law, I wasn't insinuating that. I was just asking a question about
For the record,
bid laws and things like that, things I don't know about. So, yeah, guys, I know you guys do good work. I'm just asking questions about budgetary and just the overall arching sense of this contract. So I just wanted to make sure that we're covering all our bases. So I'm certainly not against it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Robert.
Mr. President, I was just wondering if we were rated the #1 place to live, statewide, worldwide, universal?
Statewide.
Looking at statewide?
Yes.
Very good.
That's an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Over many years. Thank you. Okay. I had a motion, a second. Are there any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. Great conversation, gentlemen.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Item B, an approval of Amendment 7 to the master contract between H. Davis Cole and East Ascension Drainage to increase the contract amount by $52,000 for additional resident inspection funds for the New River dredging project from December 2022 to March 2033, for a total contract amount of $613,119. So I have a question right off the bat. What is a resident inspection fund? And so I look forward to hearing from you, sir.
Absolutely.
Identify
Absolutely,
yourself and answer my question.
A resident inspector is the guy that's there all day, every day while there's construction going on, making sure that the contractor's adhering to the plans and specifications.
So we're not going to look at people's houses
Oh,
along
no,
New River.
no, it's a bad,
couldn't
I
figure
probably
it
should have, the new term is resident project representative. I'm a little bit older, so I say inspector.
He's
but-
living on the project, in other words. I gotcha. All right.
Motion approved.
I have a motion by Mr.
Yep.
Lawler. Second by Mr. Mason. Are there any questions of Mr. Coe? Mr. President.
Yeah, Dave, can you give us kind of an update of where we are with the project? Because it looks like we're getting close to completion.
We are.
I know there's a few items left, so if you
Yep.
could just.
I've got a couple slides that I'll run through here real quick.
Okay.
And do you want me to just roll right on into the tilt weir too?
Sure.
Okay. So I'm Davis Cole. We've been working on the New River Channel Improvement Project. This is the first phase of it, which is dredging, for lack of a better term, but canal shaping, installation of riprap, things like that. So I never can do this right. Okay, man. So this is just an update. We're about 95% complete with the entire project. And that's wrong. Drainage excavation, embankment fill, they're around 95% or so. We actually came in under on the embankment so far and a little bit over on the excavation, which kind of balance out. Those things happen. We had to over excavate in some areas where the channel was really, really soft. There really wasn't a bottom there. The dredging beneath the Kansas City Southern Railroad and along their track is the last little bit that is remaining. We have a permit, I guess, for work under the bridge. We're trying to coordinate with the railroad to make that work happen. They've been a little less than responsive, but myself with Ron and with the contractor, we're on top of it and trying to get that last little bit finished. So to date, approximately 62,000 cubic yards have been taken out of the channel, and approximately 1,700 yards of embankment fill have been placed. So the dirt we're bringing in is to make the slopes, like you see now, they're nice, gentle slopes that can be maintained with the parish mowers and whatnot. So these are just some photographs. The first one here is they used an amphibious excavator to actually get into the channel to dredge out to a bottom depth of -2, and the side slopes, as you see there, are starting to be formed up in a nice uniform manner. To the right there, I believe this is under the US 61 bridge. So we deployed some geotextile fabric, and they're actually hand placing the riprap under there, because that was really the most cost-effective, believe it or not, way of deploying the riprap. Here's some more riprap on the left. That's on, I'm not sure which, was that Bryan Road maybe?
That's Marshall.
Marshall, okay. You can see kind of what the riprap is going to look like on the edges of the bank of the bridge itself. We're taking and protecting all those pilings with the riprap material. You can also see where the drain lines enter New River. They're getting a treatment where they've been extended further into the bank. We're deploying riprap there to prevent erosion and whatnot going into the future. This is a little bit more of the same. All right, so then moving on to...
Excuse me,
I'm
Mr.
sorry?
Cole.
Mhm.
The chair would prefer that we deal with item B
Okay.
and then go on to item C,
You got
since
it.
there's a vote required.
Mhm.
Thank you. So the chair would entertain a motion to approve item B. I have a motion by Mr. Mason, a second by Mr. Lambert to approve item B. Are there any further questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. Item C, approval of amendment number 8 to the master contract between H. Davis Cole and East Ascension Drainage to amend the scope of work to include technical services for New River Canal Project, control structure at New River, and US 61, the tilting weir concept, construction, management, and resident inspection services for additional amount of $164,136 for a new total contract amount of $777,255. Excuse me, yeah, $255. Go ahead, sir.
Okay.
Take us from there.
All right. So this, we'll see. Here's the next one. What's that? The same one, yeah, Judge, it's just toward the end of it. Okay.
That was the same one, Jerry.
Yeah, it's the same
The one you
one.
just had up, if you just bring
Yeah,
it
just
back
where
up.
you stopped. I didn't mean to throw a monkey
All
wrench
right,
in it.
here we are. I'll screw these.
There we go.
Oh, and I meant to say that this project's on schedule. I believe the contract ends in sometime in May, and we should be done in the next, my guess is 2-3 weeks, depending on the railroad cooperation. Okay, this is the next one, the New River Tilting Weir project. This is going to install a new tilting weir. If you look in the picture here, that's the existing sheet pile weir at New River. That's going to be replaced with a concrete structure with a weir that will be adjustable from a low level of -2 to a high level of +2, I believe, or +3. I think it's a +3. So allowing flexibility in the operation of the canal system. It'll, in a higher level, it'll allow for more retainage during the storm event. And it'll also allow the weir to be completely lowered and the canal pumped as dry as possible by the Morvenboro station. So we had the pre-construction meeting on February the 28th, 2023. The contractor is a contractor out of Mandeville, named Shavers Whittle. We received 3 bids, I believe it was three responsive bids on the project. It was 4, but 1 was out. They were the lowest at $2.2 million. Which was right in line with what we had estimated. The notice to proceed has been issued. It's effective on March the 13th, which I believe is Monday. Construction, it's a 365 calendar day contract. For the most part, that's because of the lead time on the structure, the weir gate structures themselves, which I believe have a 16 to 20 week manufacturing time. They're pretty much custom made for each individual application. But in the meantime, they'll be driving piles and building the reinforced concrete structure that those will go into. So I suspect you'll see actual activity out there. I doubt it'll be Monday, but they said they were going to bring some equipment out, but within the next several weeks. So given the 365, the project's scheduled to be substantially complete on March the 12th, 2024. And something that was added during the bid phase is we've integrated this project in with the parish-wide SCADA system, which the administration has been constructing and integrating into all projects moving forward. So that's why you see the SCADA design in here. It was just something that was added on later. And I believe that's it for that one.
Have a motion by Commissioner Robert, second by Commissioner Wagasback. Are there any questions?
Just one question, Chair.
Go right ahead, Mr. Lambert, and then I'll recognize the parish president and whoever that admin 2 is.
I was just wondering, I know we've been checking gauges and doing different things, and this amount removed in so many districts that are involved with it. How are we looking? Have y'all seen any change or the reduction of water levels in the New River?
Well, so with the dredging, we're forced to keep the water levels low. So that capacity is always there for any rain event. And so we've seen immediate benefit for having that reduction in the gauges. And we could show you that if you wanted to see that in a presentation. Yep. We're able to pull that down with the gate valves. This will give us another opportunity to manipulate that capacity on this weir So we will have two structures being able to manipulate New River, which therefore reduces and creates capacity in Grand Goudin and the three branches, which branches out into Geismar, Dutchtown, as well as South Prairieville. And so that will help reduce those levels as well, creating additional capacities throughout the entire system through the eastern part, to the western part of Marvinborough Basin. So the answer is yes.
Absolutely.
Very good.
Excellent. Mr. President, did you have a comment you wanted to make?
No, just excited to see the project getting started. It's going to be a new type structure. These are tilting downward instead of lifting upward. And so provides us a little bit of ability to go from 3 to 2 or 3 to 1 or 3 to 0. So we have some flexibility in a lot of these gates. We could open one rather than, or open all of them. So it provides us a lot of flexibility with this particular structure. So excited to see it built, constructed, as well as the camera system and the SCADA, so we can monitor all those water levels through our central command center. And it'll be a great project at the end, and excited to show the public what we're creating here.
Mr. Savoy, you had a comment?
No, I mean, I just second what the president says. I'm excited to be part of this. I think this actually closes the door to why we did the dredging and the whole first phase of this. We've been talking about this for a long time, and we're already utilizing. I think the gate valves calibrated everything and validated a lot of things for us. And I'm just excited to see this come to fruition. So thank you guys for the support.
Thank you. All right, so I had a motion and a second. Any further questions? Mr. Wagesback.
No, so I was just going to make a point. I would like to see a presentation on that, because I think that all ties into, I was thinking about this last time we were talking about operating procedures for the pump station capacity. I mean, we've done all the, H&TB's done all this surveying. We should be able to tie the volumes and the rainfall. All that should be able to be tied together. Not tomorrow, but we should be working towards that, because to me, all this money we're spending on SCADA, the tilting weir, should tie back into pump station operation. I mean, yes. All these volumes, rates, flows, all that should be. So anyway, I just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you, Mr. Wagesback. Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Item D, acceptance of a lowest responsive bid with ERS Incorporated, and to approve the parish president to enter into any applicable agreement or contract in reference to the channel improvements at Sides Bayou, the courthouse lateral, and Bayou Francois. Devin, thank you. Welcome.
After review, the purchasing department and the East Ascension Consolidated Gravity Drainage District Number 1 recommends accepting the lowest responsive bid submitted by ERS Incorporated, and to authorize the parish president to enter into any applicable agreement or contract for this project.
Motion to approve. The lowest bid was $742,742.
Yes, sir.
Motion to approve.
I have a
Contract
motion by
is
Mr. Lawler, a second by Mr. Mason to approve. Are there any questions? I see that Mr. Monso is here. If anybody has any questions, I'm sure he's happy to take them. All right. Hearing none. Are there any objections? Hearing none of those either, that motion passes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if you don't mind, I have one comment that we didn't really have an agenda item for this, but I thought it was relevant to bring up. We did have the pre-construction last week for the Shadows at Manchac subdivision drainage repairs. So that's moving forward as well. And Jared and I met with the HOA, the contractor, and notice to proceed will be issued on that next week as well.
Thank you very much. We'll look forward to an agenda item on that. Thank you very much. Any objection? Hearing none, that motion passes. Thank you both. Item 7, the drainage reports. A, Conway Bayou DPS expansion update. Ms. Cindy Gallo with Infinity Engineering.
Hello.
Hi, Cindy. Welcome.
Hi. I am Cindy Gallo. I'm an engineer and project manager with Infinity, so I'm here on our behalf to present a quick update on where we are with the Conway Bayou Pump Station. So the goal of this project is to increase the pumping capacity at the station. Infinity is the prime engineer on this. We also had sub-consultants in the beginning of the project. Quality did survey, H&H study, and the benefit cost analysis. Gulf South did geotech, ELOS helped with permitting and environmental analysis. All of those steps are done. We are in the end stages of the design, so that they were on the team and are on the team, but they are not active at this point. So the existing station, 3 diesel-driven right-angle gear, 50,000 gallon per minute pumps. Currently, it is pumping down to -3. The expansion, we're going to extend the building and install 2 75,000 diesel-driven right-angle gear pumps. So we are doubling the capacity of the station to 300,000 gallons per minute. We're going to expand the bridge, expand the intake and discharge. We're also providing an expanded diesel tank storage going from 2,000 gallons to 17,000. We're doing an additional 15,000 tank to allow for, I believe it's a week of runtime. The intake reservoir, everything you see on this slide that is hatched is going to have to be excavated. So we are going to a -18 below the building and the bridge and out to -10 towards the beginning of the intake. The pump train, like I said, we're doing 2 additional 75,000 gallons per minute pumps, which are they're similar to the existing, they just have a little bit more capacity. And then at the bottom of the train is the form suction intake, which is going to help with the, it's going to help with the intake of the water. It also is going to provide the opportunity to pump down to -6, but the canals surrounding the existing station currently are too high for that. They need to be dredged, so that's part of the future site modifications. If that happens in the future, this FSI will help pump down to a -6. The new building's going adjacent to the existing building, 2 pumps housed in it. We are going to relocate the office building, relocate the sewage treatment plant. The sewage treatment unit. So where are we now? We, in the middle of February, submitted a revised 90% submittal. The parish and HNTB have reviewed it. We received comments at the end of February. We are in the process of responding to those comments. I'm hoping to respond to those comments this week. At the same time, we are working towards a 100% set of documents. We're also going to be coordinating with representatives from the parish and HNTB and the SCADA system contractor to discuss opportunities to add to the design to prevent any failures that happened at Marvin Bro. So that is why it's going to take from February to April to do 100% construction documents. We just want to make sure if we want to add anything, we do it before we go out for bid, and then we'll hopefully go out for bid later this year and start construction.
Thank you, Ms. Cindy. Are there any questions from the commissioners? Mr. Lawler.
On this project, and I'm amazed these take so long. I mean, this was like decades and.
So I'm actually not the original project manager. I can't tell you the exact date. It is a 20 number for us, so sometime in 2020. It was put on hold last year while the parish considered potentially doing an electric pumping station. There we go. So we visited some existing pump stations, considered maybe going to electric pumps instead of diesel. That took a little bit. We ended up staying with diesel at the direction of HNTB. So we picked back up 90%. HNTB also came into this, I believe, as program managers for the parish for the drainage system. So we received additional comments when they joined the team. Our revised 90% in February addressed their comments.
I wasn't complaining or anything. It's just, I seem to remember talking about this a long time ago.
Yes.
And it's, all these projects take forever.
Yes.
Good deal. Glad to see it getting done.
Thank you, Mr. Lawler. Historically, when was the initial construction of this pumping station?
I believe it was 96, 97.
And I hope I heard you correctly that you're going to make sure that whatever's there does not allow for a similar kind of disaster that happened at Marvinborough.
Yes.
We've
so
learned
we-
our lesson from that.
Yes, we put together a memo of different options that we can use. We still need to coordinate with the parish and the SCADA system designer contractor to make sure we have exactly what we need.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions, gentlemen? Comments?
One real quick.
Mr. Lambert?
The increase on the diesel, have we ever exceeded on what we had in the past, or why we need so much capacity on this? Is it because of the extra pumps, or what?
No, I think we were fine with the existing station, and there's a requirement that you have a reserve to run if you can't get fuel to that station for X amount of period of time. I think there's an engineering formula for that, and it warranted an increase for the capacity there. I think you're supposed to be able to run for a week without supply,
Right.
somewhere around that timeline.
Yes, so it's gonna run for about a week or for a week with the 17,000, so the current tank is 2,000, we're adding 15,000.
Great.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? We appreciate you being here. Thank you for the report.
Thank you.
Item B, HNTB, the ADAPT program, grant application monthly update. Mr. Monzon. Always good to see you, sir.
Good evening. I'll be brief.
Thank
There's a
you.
lot going on in the background, but let's see. All right. So I'll go ahead and get going on the grant status. I mentioned this last month. We have submitted 3 grants under the HMGP program: the Savoy Arena Gwen retrofit, the Leshonere lateral detention, and Black Bayou detention. We just past month, we submitted an RFI on the Savoy Arena Gwen retrofit to GOSEP to ask for additional information, and we got that done. 2 brick applications, Bird Island Ditch Improvement and Detention, and the Maury Burette lateral. We continue to monitor upcoming 2023 NOFOs, Notice of Funding Opportunities. There was an LWI Round 2 application webinar today at 1 o'clock. We got some additional guidance on the pre-application survey, which opens on March 13th, and pre-applications are due on May 1st. So we intend to meet with Ron and staff at Ascension Parish and get some of those grants going. Marvinborough Pump Station Levy Expansion. As you know, Hartman was the winning team on that effort. We held a kickoff meeting on February the 9th. We're coordinating with McKim & Cree for the tie-in at the LA 22, which is on the northern end, to ensure that the roadway is at the very least at the height of the levee crossing that feature right there. We've had received SAM and Louisiana Secretary of State certifications from the Hartman team, so they're in order. They're preparing a man-hour and fee estimate for review. We expect to get that in the next couple of days. And then we're scheduling a meeting with GOSEP and the Office of Community Development to make sure that we get the correct guidance from them as far as invoicing and any other documentation they may need. We have been working with Ron. This is something that, very near and dear to Ron. This is a capital projects tracking tool. What you see there is as an example. On the far left, we'll have all the projects listed, and you will have drop-down dialog boxes with individual tasks that are attached to the major tasks. So what you're looking at here is just major tasks for all of these projects. We'll track them all. We're taking action items for each capital project for project history and documentation, gathering critical project files in one central location, and eventually organize this with the ability to create an outward-facing database / dashboard that Ron and staff can use to go and look and track the progress on any project at any given time on a capital project side. So I've been working with Ron on that. Well, looking to make some good progress on that as well. And that concurs. That's my presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
That capital projects tracking could be available to the council as well, or to the commission?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Any questions, gentlemen? Observations? Mr. President?
So we'll be moving with ADAPT to go for round 2 of LWI. So we're going to be getting together and hustling up some projects to submit. We would like to take the opportunity of this particular governor's last year in office and hopefully he will be looking to support a lot of these drainage projects in the region, especially due to 2016 and the LWI, $1.2 billion that was given and then spread across the state through the regions. But we're going to try to get those projects in, and those deadlines are coming up. So we'll hopefully have a list of those we'll be submitting for the next drainage meeting, and working on those very quickly to get those in the pipeline for funding.
Mr. President, and John, I was reading on the round two that those will be reserved for low and moderate income projects in light of Ascension's thriving economy and high income. Is there any opportunity for us in that round two?
I think so. With the degree of some of these projects that the impact is felt, certainly in multiple parishes, that criteria may be met. We're going to submit as much as we can and take a shot and make sure that at least that we're on the list. And so we'll obviously be focusing on some West Bank projects as well. Certainly fits that criteria. And so, but we'll be pushing as many projects as we possibly can that we believe fit that criteria or closely fit that criteria.
Yeah, well, we can schmooze them to fit that criteria.
Yes,
gotcha.
Yeah, there will be some opportunities also. There's a stipulation that if you have a regional project and that project impacts or benefits low to moderate income areas and the surrounding areas, then it will probably qualify as well. So there's some graded criteria that they're going to use. So I'm hopeful that, yeah, we'll get something that will.
So how long, in the history with the LWI, the initial round of, how long was it from the time they received all their grant applications until those things were chosen and the communities were notified?
You're talking about round one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know, maybe like a year or two, probably. Yeah.
So we're a year or two out, probably again,
Well,
from any knowledge of a round two set of.
If I understand the process a little bit better this time around, they've streamlined the process to have something called a survey. It's not really a survey. It's like a pre-application screening where they will help the municipalities along the way and give you additional guidance. They're trying to shorten that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so like the deadline is May 1st, but then they have some additional milestones along the way that are going to match. So hopefully they'll stick to their guidance, and we could probably, I believe the intent is to shorten that duration.
Mm-hmm. So my other question would be along the same lines. Our governor has only 1 year remaining. If he makes all those decisions or is in the process of making those decisions and then is no longer in office and a new administration comes in, is there anything that ties those funds up and we don't see a change when there's a new governor, a new administration?
I would be very surprised if these projects, on whatever criteria fit, that a new governor would pull funding from any parish or municipality. I think that would be a devastating political move. So once these are awarded and announced, I would think they're, I'm not going to say 100% solid, but I would think they're pretty solid. I would anticipate we should get an announcement before the end of the year of projects being funded. I feel that several departments, DOTD, CPRA, and others are all jointly working in that direction. And so I would anticipate that this administration under John Bell Edwards is working diligently and will be over the next few months to start lining out and hopefully making those announcements and hopefully having Ascension Parish in those announcements. But I sense the people I talk to that is the case, that they are all gathering, working together, coordinating for that to happen. That seems to be the word that's out there. So I'm going to reach out to PLD and make those suggestions to them too as well, to make sure that their projects for Ascension Parish are on whatever list they can put them on over the next 9-10 months here.
Excellent. Certainly it'll affect the way we vote.
Yes.
So I think we probably need to solicit comment from candidates about where they'll stay.
Yes.
Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Monson?
Nope, that's it.
Any other questions, gentlemen? All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Item C, the Drainage Monthly Report. Jade, good evening.
Good evening, Chair. Good evening. All right, so we bring you the February 23 report, a short report, kept the picks out for you, try to move the night on for us. So we're maintaining about 53%. It's been a trend for a year now. I don't see us moving really too much ahead. We're working on a work order system to maybe identify where we have multiple work orders in certain areas that could certainly change those numbers. Just due to it's a bigger project, not just an individual complaint. And I think that's what our customers out there deserve, is to get these projects, not these individuals. So we may see these trends come up, but I don't look to them in the meantime. So I think we're maintaining a stable area at the moment. Work orders by department, we see most of ours in minor drainage, which is roadside ditches, culverts, all of these servitudes behind these homes. We do, most of our major drainage is done by y'all or by administration, so we don't see that come in the work order system, so you're gonna see very low numbers there. But minor drainage, we have 6 crews, 2 managers, so they're doing very well. But right now our focus is trying to combine and see where we can move the projects on these things to really push our department to a new level and a new level of service for these guys. Activities, you can see digging roadside ditches is always the main. 312 work orders in the system right now. Off-road sinkhole repair. We can't see that number. This chart is huge. It probably has 60 different activities in it, so it's very hard to give it in a presentation. But for the most part, digging roadside ditches and these smaller off-road ditches and that minor drainage is the majority of what we get complaints about, along with culverts in between. Work orders, new work orders in the month were 136, with 72 being completed in February. And we move on to our projects. Major drainage are complete. We finished shredding Highway 936, a split log, completed Upper Gooding past Calco Road, and shredding from Highway 936 to Heath Bayou. In progress right now. We're still working on Gooding laterals, but the Upper Gooding lateral is Tier 3. We're finished from Ferdinand Road to Alex Clean, and from Alex Clean, we're going to Old Mill. Shredding behind Sanamo High School, beginning to shred Smith Bayou at I-10, and they're digging Plug Road ditch at Clean Road at the moment. And that is it. It's pretty short and sweet.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Robert.
Did you say the numbers as far as the work orders? We got 100 or something work orders put in and 70 something complete, so we're about a 40 work order deficit for the month?
Yeah, so we're maintaining about 53%, in that 50% range.
I was just going to say we may want to look at using some more of that contract labor to at least get that number to where we're putting in and taking out the same amount of work orders a month.
So you're correct. So we moved to that. Parish president gave us, Mr. Johan did a great presentation. So one of the requests that I had made to the parish president was, say, major drainage. We're able to take some of our other crews, move them, spread 3 or 4 machines out, and have 4 jobs going at one time, bringing a Lifehouse member in and taking our guys where we get the
So next
labor.
month it'll be if we have 100 work
Yeah.
orders put in, we'll have 100 out?
Go ahead.
So we will always see a spike in spring and summer. And
Absolutely.
usually we try to catch up after. So you're going to see more come in. And as the growing season gets more intense, the work orders come in quicker and faster. So we're going to see a spike.
Yeah,
We're not
yeah.
going to be able to keep up. It always goes beyond what we can do, and we just get as many as we can and efficiently as we can to get them done. But they will come in the summer months more than we can handle them.
Absolutely, and that's kind of the
Yeah,
point of
so-
what I'm going toward is, as a parish and hiring employees, we can't handle those spikes, but, maybe look a little bit more to get a little bit closer to it. And I get you can't handle
Yeah.
everything, but take an opportunity to take advantage of that contract labor.
Mr. Lawler?
Yeah, thank you. Just, it all looked good so far. I'm still getting a lot of calls from individuals that said they've submitted work orders and they don't hear anything. I'd really like to see us work on communications. It's not just this department. I mean, it's code enforcement. I get a lot of calls on that. I think sometimes these are closed and they're not made aware of why. And a lot of times it's legitimate reasons. Either it's something that we can't handle or it's something that's outside of the realm of our responsibility. But I think we need to make sure that these people are advised as to what's going on when they call in, because what I hear is, well, I submitted a work order and nobody ever contacted me. I looked it up and it's closed now. So if we can work on the communication side of that, that'd be good.
Yes, sir, I agree. We'll do that.
Okay, thank you.
I don't see any other questions, so I thank you very much, sir, for your report.
Thank you.
Item D, the Vegetation Monthly Report. Mr. Samuel, you're back again. We're paying more
Good
attention to
afternoon.
vegetation than we are to finance.
I'll take that as a compliment, I guess. All right, so moving on. We were actually able to, we spent 3 weeks in February on our second annual cross-training event. We set up our mowing crews along the Laurel Ridge Levee and actually gave some real-world, a real-world training area. Last year, we were able to do it at Lamar Dixon. This time, we actually were able to put a little bit more planning and thought process into this to get them out on actual areas that they would be cutting on. We went into this with a goal in mind to achieve a satisfactory grade on any equipment or vehicles that was relevant to their primary job duties. Also raising safety awareness, giving our employees the opportunity to learn and grow and to do something that they haven't done before, and also just to improve the versatility of our department's personnel. Some of our outcomes on this, we did identify new employees we hired in 2022 that are now have learned the skills, and they're going to be our new trainers for next year's event. We are able to solidify our method for training, our method and training materials to train and evaluate all new hires correctly within our probationary period, and we also reinforced our mission to be safe, effective, and efficient. An update on our state highway contract on our first spring cycle. Cutting, we're at 25%. Herbicide application, we just finished a few weeks ago. We're at 100%. Litter is currently at 31. Some work order metrics from the call center. In the month of February, we received 27 new requests. That's a very low number. We're in the lull of the early spring. Hand cleaning and servitude is out in front as normal. And you can see what all the other stuff that's come in. We were able to complete 29 cutting off-road, hand cleaning and servitude, and tree removal. Being some of our biggest ones for February. Some data trend since we started this program in April of last year. You can see how much we're able to complete. We're now approaching on our 1-year mark, and it can actually show the entire year's work. Call center overall status, this is department-wide. We're at 72% completion on everything that comes in from the public's request. around, I think it was December, we were looking at around 50 or so percent. We were actually able to close the gap pretty good before our next growing season. Internal work orders, this is stuff that my supervisors see that's not particularly addressed or requested by residents. Spraying parish roads, tree debris removal, and other hand cleaning stuff that Mr. Ellersar and his guys see. It's out in front. Data trend on that, as we're becoming more productive, we expect these numbers to stay relatively high throughout all the year, and hopefully we can get to close the gap to almost meet our incoming demand. Anybody have any questions on anything for this?
I don't see any. Are there any questions, gentlemen? Then thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item E, the Marvin Bro Pump Station Incident Update. Mr. Dawson.
Thank you, Chairwoman.
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to tonight ask James to come up too, and Ron and Jade are going to also participate. So we have a slideshow here. And walk me through it, Jared. I have it. Yeah. You didn't think I could figure that out, did you? So, we're going to use the format that you guys presented to us, which is a safety update on what's been done. Our employees have been trained to respond and are properly equipped to do an emergency. Standard operating procedure, defining a plan of action to ensure that employees have a written operating procedure for pumping station and clear chain of command, and equipment safety, what has been done to ensure that all pumps and equipment are protected from failure. So we took everything that presented tonight and put that in under those headings, and we'll present that to you. Obviously, the first one is the safety update, and I'd like to ask James to come up and give that, if you will.
Parish President, Council, staff, thank you again. Bill, make sure I press the right button.
I have to teach you how to do it.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you an update on what has been done safety-wise at Marvin Bro since you met last. One of the biggest things that you see first is hats off to our parish president, hats off to the administration for saying we got to build a baseline. We got to know where we are, where we going to. We don't know where we're going to go unless we know where we've been or what the baseline of Marvin Bro is. So what they asked me to do was, hey, who can we bring in that can do a full assessment of Marvin Bro pumping station so we would know where we need to go. So we brought in the Louisiana State Fire Marshal's office. People, y'all know I come from a 30-year career in industry. People don't invite these people into their house. Our administration said we want them into our house and we want them to do a full assessment of Marvin Bro. So on February 27th, we brought them in, and they sent two guys. I think what was impressive to me is the State Fire Marshal's office didn't even know where the Marvin Bro pumping station was. I don't know if it was the last time they ever even made it there. We had to meet them in Sorrento and escort them there. They didn't even know where it was. So they sent two guys to us on February 27th. They got to the Marvin Bro pumping station at 8:30 in the morning, and they stayed there till noon. And they went through every aspect of the Marvin Bro pumping station, every fuel line, every emergency response equipment that we had there. And I was very impressed with their findings, and I can definitely forward y'all the full report. But basically, what the fire marshal said was, because before we brought the fire marshal in, we had brought another company in to do a full assessment on the fire alarm system and the burglar alarm system. I think Jay brought y'all up to date on that at the last meeting. So basically what the fire marshal said is, hey, we want to make sure that before you make any improvements to this fire alarm system or this burglar alarm system at Marvin Bro, that we have a full schematic of what y'all going to do. We want to see the schematic before you do it, and then we want to come back and look at it when you finish. So we were impressed with that. One of the things that they did say was that they, the sprinkler system, one of the things they said was, hey, we see that your sprinkler system may be being inspected by a company, but we don't see the proper tags on it. So that's one of the things we're working on. So we're working on trying to figure out why the sprinkler system at Marvin Bro wasn't properly tagged. So, and you don't find these things until you bring the company in to find it, to help us with that. So I was impressed with that. I was even more impressed that our administration said, hey, bring them in. Let them go through the whole thing. And there wasn't any stones unturned when the fire marshal's office came in. Now, one of the things they did put on the report was that they, in the future, they want to look at the firewall system between the room that the people sit in versus, the actual engine room, to make sure that we have the proper firewall between our employees and the equipment. So they didn't write us up for that, or they didn't gig us for it, but they said it's something they definitely want to look at in the future. So again, hats off for that. So let me make sure I'm doing this right, Jarius. So since y'all met last, we have done some field assessments at Marvin Bro. We done them on February 23rd, we did them again on February 25th, and we did them again on March 2nd. When I say field assessments, we went to Marvin Bro and we spent several hours over there making sure that we went through the whole entire process when it comes to safety, not leaving anything unturned. And again, the Louisiana State Fire Marshal's Office came in on February 27th. So here are some of the things that's been done. I don't know when's the last time all of y'all, I know y'all made some trips out there when y'all was first elected, but fuel lines were rerouted from the new catwalk area. So when you would go up to these big fuel tanks, you had to go up it by a ladder. Now the administration and the leadership team has built a catwalk where you can actually walk on top of these fuel tanks on top of a catwalk and not have to climb a ladder. Very, very impressive. So we had to, in order to do that, we had to reroute some fuel lines to make sure that the fuel lines were out the way so they could build a catwalk. So now when you go to Marvin Bro, you can go right up the stairs and go right up to the top of the tanks and not have to climb a ladder. Fuel storages are now properly marked with NFPA labels. Council, I was embarrassed that, just like you were, that these fuel storages were out there for as long as they were, and they wasn't even marked. They didn't have NFPA labels. They didn't have the proper placards. They are now properly placarded. They are properly labeled, and the fire marshal's office could not stop praising enough for that. Emergency lights on top of fuel storages now work. New lockout, tagout boxes were installed, so now we can actually lock equipment out, and then we can lock the keys in the proper lock boxes so somebody doesn't go start up a pump or go start something up when somebody's working on it. New eye wash stations have now been installed. Never in the history of Marvin Bro pumping station have we had eye wash stations. Now we have eye wash stations. All leaders, employees involved in what's been done since the December incident need to be commended. There's been a lot of work done here. Proper signage. Now when you go to the Marvin Bro pumping station, there's proper signs that tells you where your eye protection is, tells you where your hearing protection is. There's also a sign now that if you're a visitor, it tells you exactly who to contact before you even enter the facility. New hearing protection signs and PPE signs are now installed at the facility. This is one of my #1 pet peeves. Fuel valves not in operation are now locked out. I was always concerned about somebody going to Marvin Bro at nighttime when somebody wasn't there, jumping over the fence, open up fuel valves and letting diesel go to the waterway. Now all valves that are not in operation are all locked out. New water rescue equipment has been bought, so now we have new ropes, new rafts, so if anybody falls in the water, we got them all at the facility to be able to get people out the water if they should fall in the water. New fire protection 300-pound wheeled Ansel units are now on site with Purple K product in them to help us fight fire. Never been done before. The facility has 5 of them now on site. And I think one of the things that I was very impressed with when I made my assessments is now we have startup and shutdown procedures, laminated procedures at every single pump. So when a guy goes to that pump, he's got a laminated procedure sitting in front of him, and it tells him how to start that pump, and it tells him how to shut that pump down, and it's sitting right there at the pump. Because as you know, because you've been there, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are the same, but 6 and 7 are different. Now we have procedures at the pump, so they don't even have to go look for the procedure. It's sitting right there at the pump. We now have all the new proper safety data sheets on hand, so when our regulatory agencies come to us and they want to know what kind of chemicals we have at Marvin Bro, the SDS sheets are waiting for them. All 55-gallon drums, and you'll see a picture here shortly because there's about 15 or 20 of them. All of them are in overpacked drums. What does that mean? That means if a drum starts leaking, it doesn't get to our waterway because it's inside of an overpacked drum. Every one of our overpacked drums are now properly labeled. That way you can walk right up to an overpacked drum and know exactly what's in that drum. All our ladders are in the facility are now in one location. They all tied off, so they're not in a location where they can fall, bump a valve open or something out like that. New air regulators are installed on the main lines and on the bypass lines. The air valves are now properly locked out, which is something that I was really concerned about. With these air valves, anybody can bump an air valve with a ladder or anything like that and shut a valve off, and we have the same issue we had on December 30th with losing air pressure because somebody was walking through an alleyway with a ladder and bumped a valve and shut the valve off, and then we have low air pressure. And then, of course, all the proper signage there. I think the next slide might be some pictures, and those pictures roll real quick. They don't stop. And you'll see some of the pictures that we took while we were doing these assessments. Am I right on that? I'm going to try it again. I'm going to go. Go back one slide, Jay. I'm going to go back. This one right here? All right, so the facility now has extra booms, all pads, and absorbent pads throughout the whole entire facility. So when you walk through the Marvin Bro pumping station, every so many feet, you got me? Every so many feet is an absorbent pad and a boom in case anything gets in the water. You'll see through these pictures that the housekeeping is one that I've never seen before. It's outstanding, and you're gonna see how we always tell our people, you know, a clean environment is a safe environment. You'll see caution signs up. You'll see chains across all of our doorways where people cannot fall out of an open doorway. You'll see all kind of new machine guarding on all of our shafts. If you've ever worked in an industrial facility before, you know that walking by a piece of equipment with a moving shaft, it's got to have the proper machine guarding. Emergency evacuation lights are all working. Every single place that we have high voltage, we place signs letting our employees know that there's high voltage there. And like I said, pumps not being used are now properly locked out at the control panel. So if we're working on a pump or something like that, there's no chance of getting an employee hurt because it's properly locked out. I think the next one might be pictures, and the pictures just roll. Safety gates. So when we first started doing these assessments, they had some openings in the floorway where an employee could actually fall through and go to the water. So we actually had our maintenance crews come in and build gates to where all those openings were all closed up to where people could not fall through and go straight to the water. Proper barricade tags are now installed. Excellent job clearing all the walking and working surfaces. Also, after the December 30th issue, we ordered all new 20-pound fire extinguishers, and we had them all hung up throughout the whole entire facility. If you remember when the pictures were coming through from the December 30th incident, we had 5-pound extinguishers, we had 2-pound extinguishers, we had 10-pound, we had 20-pound. We took every one of those out, and we filled the whole entire facility up with 20-pound fire extinguishers. So now when you're fighting this fire, along with the 300-pound wheeled units, we have enough on site for that now. And currently working, right now we're seriously spending a lot of time working on evacuation plans to evacuate the facility if we have to. I keep telling y'all about these pictures. I hope this is next.
We're waiting with bated
I hope
breath.
this is next. I pray this is next. So,
Look at that.
so there's
It's
your
a
storage facility, there's your drums, eye wash stations, there's the new catwalk.
It's really fast.
There's your procedures, your laminated procedures. There's your high voltage. There's your lockouts. There's your new wheeled units. There's your housekeeping. There's your emergency lights. There's your absorbent pads. There's your drum labels. There's your lockout tagouts. There's your new signs. There's your new chains. So I'll end by saying this. We all know that this pumping station has been in operation for 32 years, since 1991. I can tell you what I have seen over the last 30 to 40 days has been very impressive as far as getting safety. This is the first time since I've been hired here for 2 years that I can honestly say this facility finally looks like what an industrial facility should look like when it comes to safety. I also encourage this. I encourage any council member that wants to make a ride out there and make a walkthrough, that my door is always open and I'll meet you out there. It doesn't have to be all at one time. I'll meet you out there 11 different times if you want. But I think if you walk out there and remember what you saw the last time you was there and see what you see now, I think you're going to be very, very impressed at what's been done over the last 30 to 45 days.
I'll be taking you up on that, James, because I was there right after this incident, and I certainly need to see this improvement. If I may take the opportunity right now, I want to thank this commission. Early on in your production here, the administration was acknowledged, but it was this commission that directed that these assessments be done.
Yes, ma'am.
It was these men and myself
Yes, ma'am.
who said we can't do this way anymore.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I appreciate the administration's responsiveness
Yes, ma'am.
to that mandate from this commission.
Yes. So I would, like I said, Ms. Councilwoman Castle, I would really, really love to take all of you on a walkthrough of this facility so you can remember what you saw the last time and see what you see now.
Be there shortly.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Any more questions for me? Thank you much.
Okay, thank you, James. You know, really, and James, he's good at making things that are good look better, but honestly, he did a great job. For 2 months' worth of work there, you know, a tremendous amount of improvements were made. Those of us that came out of the industry, I mean, you can see, you wonder why, you know, things weren't there all along, but you can't go back and look at that. We have to look at tomorrow. What do we need to do for tomorrow? So next we're gonna go. Keep forgetting I have to press this thing. So the next part we're gonna go through is standard operating procedure, defining a plan of action to ensure the employees have a written operating procedure for pumping station, clear chain of command. So again, that was the second bullet. This. You know, also, you know, we'll double up on James that, you know, we have these startup procedures, and that's what you're looking at now is the startup procedures. And as James said, you have one startup procedure for pumps 1 through 5 in Marvin Bro and another one for 6 and 7. So this is what they did, laminated, that's there. When the operator goes by there to start it up or shut it down, it's just reach down there and read that and make sure he does it. Also, and Jade has been a big part of this, which is checklist. So he instituted these checklists. So you have pumping and non-pumping checklists. You have hourly, and you have weekly and inspection lists. They bring these are scanned in. They go into a database, and so, you know, they'll be available for a long time electronically. We're going to talk a little bit about pump operation parameters, and Ron's going to, kind of help me get through this. So when we looked at this, and obviously what we're talking about here is that how low a level can you still pump? So how low a level on the suction side can you still pump? So when we looked at this, the things that through Councilwoman Casso, which is, what does a core permit say? What is the mechanical limits on what it can do, and what are the operating procedures on how this should look? So did document search, and Ron is a big part of this, which in 1995, and I'm going to show you these documents. Also, I don't think we mentioned this in the beginning, but there's a file folder, is that not right, John, Ron, that has all the full documents in it and documentation, is that correct?
That is correct. Also, Mr. James mentioned the fire marshal report. That is in your guys' packets as well.
Yeah. So if go look in that, if you will, first, if you're looking for something, but certainly contact us if you can't find it. So then you have Corps of Engineers 1996 permit renewal and a 2017 document from Marvin Bro. This is a standard operating procedure for the pump station. And then there's an actually engineer recommendation for the mechanical limitations of the pump. And I'm gonna let Ron kind of take this and let him talk to you about this, the McElroy, the operational plan. This is as you can see, a 1995 document, and it was done by Shaheen and Associates, but Ron will talk to you about its relationship to the core permit.
Sure. The last Drainage Board meeting, good evening, Commission, I had mentioned this document to you guys and read a couple clauses out of it. And I think they're very, very important to paint a true picture from the time that the pumping station came online in 1991 and to today. So the first paragraph, it talks about the McElroy pump station being operational for approximately 4 years, and the experience of the station operators, floor stage records, pump operation records, the pumping schedule currently permitted. They recommend it be modified to reflect the parish's operational experience at the time, recent updates in hydraulic modeling to the drainage basin. And I skipped down to the last paragraph. This is the one I read to you guys about. In review of those historical tide levels, we get into determining that the natural occurrence of tide in the 0 foot to 0.5 foot range, it happens approximately once every 5.5 days, or 65 times a year. Tides in 0.6 range to 1 foot, approximately 95 times a year. And as such, a pump down elevation of 0 foot for the pumping schedule would be consistent with the natural fluctuation of the drainage basin. So this wasn't an official Corps permit, but I did reference it at the last drainage meeting, and I felt that the dates and the timelines line up into our next slide. So 1995, Shaheen and them had done this overview. Then we get into the actual Corps of Engineer permits. In 1996, again, these full permits are in your packets. There's a call out about the actual operations of the pumping station. I went in and got with our subject matter ELOS company to look into this as well. As you know, we did some advancement to the pumping station in 2013 and added the pump 6 and 7. I would have thought then that they may have modified this operating criteria, but it didn't seem like there was a need to do so. So we referenced back to the latest information on the Corps permit, and it's from this document here. So we'll get into it. Number one, you can run the pumps for operational purposes or maintenance purposes to see and test engines. Number two is more of a backwater event flooding condition. They reference a floodgate. It can be closed for external flooding. And the internal levels, they reference elevation of 1 foot. That is more in reference to the actual Bonacary spillway and the diversion canal of the Amite River Basin, say water's backing up to us on the outside of that pumping station. They reference 1 foot. That is our everyday safe tide elevation. And so they allow you to maintain that. But then you get into scenario number 3, which is, in our opinion, today's time. We experience this almost monthly at times. When a potential of a 5-inch rain or greater rainfall is forecasted for the area, the event is identified as a tropical storm or a severe frontal passage. Internal water elevations can be drawn down to correspond with the severity of the storm. Once the danger of flooding has passed, the exterior water level elevations have subsided to 2 feet. The floodgates shall be open and water levels within the outside systems can then equalize. All right, so it doesn't really specify a so-called standard or elevation to draw down to. It gives you the authority to deem that as the severity of the event and how aggressive or not aggressive you need to activate the pumps. Scenario 4 then references a combination of events: high tides, locally heavy downpours that meet neither of the above criteria, that in the opinion of the Independent Drainage Commission requires that the pumping station be operated to avert the potential loss of life or real estate, meaning structural flooding. You guys can deem, or we as staff have the authority to run these pumps accordingly. And then that kind of goes into the mechanical capabilities. So the boatway shall be allowed, and it just talks about marine traffic there. Then we get into today, or more recent times. So after the flood of 2016, Bill Rue had came to me and he said, "Ron, I'd like you to write up a standard operating procedure for what we do on a day-to-day, so we can preserve this and so people understand that operate and work at these stations what the parameters are." And so we did that, and in 2017 I submitted this to Mr. Rue, and it kind of gives you the factors of what you look for, the requirements, prerequisites, be it a threat of rainfall, wind direction, existing water elevations of, extended for length of time or rising. Elevation of concerns are 2.5 at the pumping station. Average elevation of the system on a day-to-day is 1 foot to 1.5 foot. Elevations desired or designated at the pumping station would be around a 0.5. USGS gauges at Marvin Bro charts or a source of information that show these gauge heights, tide elevations, etc. Responsibilities, it lays it out for the staff. It shall be the responsibility of the assistant director to monitor events that may present a threat to the residents of the parish and notify the director. It shall be the responsibility of the assistant director and the director of East Ascension Drainage District to make the decision to activate the pumps. It shall be the responsibility of the assistant director to have a prepared emergency plan at all times before its pump stations day and night. It shall be the responsibility of drainage supervisors to activate the station tenant and emergency personnel as needed. It shall be the responsibility of the supervisor, the East Ascension Drainage, to issue forms to the personnel for documentations of standard pumping events. And if it's a FEMA reimbursement type event, there's forms for that, and they're issuing those to them. The procedure, it goes into some important details here, is identify that threat, notify the tenant of the station, activate the emergency personnel, ensure that equipment is needed is on site, issue a task order for documentation of the entire event, document work equipment, etc. So this goes down and gives them perimeters of every aspect. And the further you get down, it references elevations about equalizing and coming out of these pumping events, which coincide with the pumping permit from 1996. Again, this is in the current administration. This same standard operating procedure is not changed. The staff have it. The director at the time has this on hand, and they reference it. And if they don't have, or they are in doubt, they stay within the parameters of this, and they're in line, in compliance with the procedure. You guys had asked about the pumping capabilities and what depths we can pump down to without having any issues. So I reached out to BKI, Mr. Henry Picard, asked him those questions. And we thought it was around -3. I always heard -2 was safe. He actually comes back and says you can actually pump down to a -5 with the pumps at Marvin Bro, a -5. And so that is our parameter of mechanical capabilities and functions there. And I wanted to represent this on a graph. I think I showed you guys this in the first meeting after the incident. It's a visual representation of the actual incident on the 30th of the pumping event. So if you look at the bottom of the graph, December the 30th, and the arrow that points it out, the black dot actually shows the representation of the starting of the pumps on the 30th. And you can see a brief decrease in elevation where the pumps were headed to target elevations of 0 to 0.5 that day. You see a slight increase in elevations at the pumping station. At that point in time is where that represents that downpour rain that happened during this pumping event that morning. And so we did give the order to go ahead and go to 0.5 and then on to 0, and they started cranking up the engines to do so. And at the bottom of that dip is where the failure occurred. But at no time did we get out of the parameters of the permit or our standard operating procedure. And then after the event happens, you look at a little rise at the pump station. We talked about that in that meeting. We had another rain event come in the following few days after the incident. If you look from January 1st at the bottom of the graph to January the 4th, you see those representations of triangles going up and down. That is, I couldn't represent it better, the standard operating procedure being followed there. That is our target. We hold 0.5, we hit 0 to go a little bit past it, and when you kill an engine, you'll see a little bit of rise over an hour or two, and you kick another engine on, and you hold that baseline of a 0. And so this is a clear representation of what our staff does in compliance with the permit and the procedures on hand. So I thought it'd be good to show you guys all of that and how it evolved to what we do today. Oh,
yeah.
There we go. And that's about what I have on that.
So I wanted to just take a minute and talk about the graph for a minute. As Ron said, you know, if you look to your right, you'll see that's a normal operation. And as Ron said, you know, this is well within the mechanical limits, so you could go to -5. What you were going here is between plus 0.5 and 0, so you averaged about plus 0.25. The standard operating procedure on this, they were well within that. I think the other thing that it teaches us, or it shows us, is that, you know, we made some speculations on what was the cause of these clutches binding and the fire starting. And, you know, the conclusion that I came to, along with a lot of other people, was that, you know, it was an air leak. And, you know, when the people got there, the air compressor wasn't running, that had tripped. They had other people, and I'm not saying they weren't qualified to say that, but had other people saying that it was because the pumps were pumping too low. So what you have here is, though you have this evidence that here you had the failure, and the failure was when you were at 0.5. Then when you're actually operating on 4 pumps, on January 1st, you control the level at 0.25. So you had a level that was below what it was, an average was below what it was when the December 30th incident happened. I mean, we'll pause here for a minute. I know it's important to everybody, so if anybody has any questions, maybe Ron or myself would be glad to answer those relative to the, no. Yeah.
Any questions, gentlemen? Mr. Waxback.
So I remember last time we discussed this, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think we said that we didn't find any standard operating procedures, or like, was all this available at the station the day that all happened? The standard operating procedure. I remember last time we talked,
Yeah,
this wasn't presented, so I'm asking
There's
what
two
changed.
different definitions of standard operation. When you talk about standard operation on how you handle a weather event, or standard operation on how you run the station. Two different things, both can be intermingled. So when you say there was a SOP, there was not a SOP at the station in a binder that someone could think, and that's what all these people and all these entities have been working to put that SOP together, so that not only is it how we run the pumps, but it's how we run the station. And so checklist, hourly, timely, alarms, SCADA, how that's going to be brought into the SOP. The whole operation of the station in general, even when we're not in an event, that SOP needs to be in place and needs to be followed. So that's what Bill's kind of been working on bringing together. So it's important to know the difference between the SOP versus the weather event and how that's handled, and the SOP versus just running the station in general, how it should be run.
No, I understand that. I just meant the day this happened, these things were not in place at the station.
The operating procedure, the assistant directors and staff had that emailed from me over the years, and they did have access to it. But some of these ones that were mentioned in these presentations were implemented, along the way of the recovery of this.
Oh, the checklist and all?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's all good. No, I was just, but that didn't exist before, checking the pump hours, the engine hours and all that. It was supposed to be, but it wasn't. We haven't been doing that. Like,
I would say that they were doing it, but they never really came together as a group and did what we're doing now, which they probably should.
No, that's good. I'm just making sure I understand.
Well, the collection of the data is something I think we fell down on. People were out there, thought they were doing the right thing. They were checking the pump. They were writing, they were writing for their own notebooks the hours, but really it wasn't structured enough.
Wasn't formalized.
Exactly.
Okay, good. That all looks good, going in the right direction.
Good.
Yes, sir.
Here's the last leg of the three-legged table here is that what's been done to ensure that all pumps and equipment are protected from failure and can include an update on what's been done in defining a plan of action. And so under this category, we're going to give a status of where we are with the 7 pumps. And so right now you have 2 pumps that are out, or 2 engines, really. It's the engine and the pump. So number 1 is out because of shaft bearing, and this is going to have to be replaced. I think, you pick a day to come out there. To me, that'd be an interesting day because you got to lift this pump up through the roof. So pump number 2, this Geislinger, is the coupling, and that's a company that went out of business, and so they don't produce it. So we have to have that made in a machine shop. Pump number 6, they have PLC replacement. As you guys are aware, we're looking at this PLC. We're looking at a contract to standardize those, and we're looking at a contract to see what's the best. It happens to be that pump number 6, the PLC went out, and now they've replaced that and putting that back in service. Also, the last item here, the air compressor system. As we're all aware, what started this is a leak in that air pressure system and no notification that the air pressure had gone down. So we had a alarm that was installed outside the normal pathway, I'll put it like that, and that alarm was turned off. So that's all been replaced, and it's all back in service. Here's the picture of it. Not much to it, but could have saved us a lot. Plan of action and how we're going to move forward. Excuse me. So we have and we talked about this at the last meeting, we have a request out there to have SCADA Design Engineering and an owner's representative. We've interviewed 4 companies that really are I think that all 4 of them, Brian Martinez and myself, interviewed all of them. All of them have potential, and all of them have good qualifications. So after we completed that, then we came back today, and we sent out letters of availability. So, we don't think this is something that we can wait months and months to get started on, because this is kind of the trigger of how you bring the new SCADA system in. So what this contract does is brings in someone and lets them do an evaluation of what do we have and what do we need, and then to assist with a bid specification to get that installed. So this is the first step right here. I sent those out, or we sent those out today, and the responses are due on 3/16. We gave them 7 working days to respond. Management of change, this is something that we talked about. I know everybody that's in the industry, they're familiar with that. I can remember when it came out, we cursed it, but you know, it's something that would have prevented what we had happen here. So we're not forgetting about management of change, but these things that we're doing, the things that Ron has done, Jade has done, and what James has done, you know, we're putting those in a bucket, we're saving that. When we bring in the management of change and get that in place, then we'll run that through the management of change. I think as you saw tonight, tremendous amount of work has been done. You know, that's a good and a bad thing. There was a lot of work that needed to be done, but we did it, and that's the important thing there. We commit that we'll continue to move forward with these enhancements and improvements, and we'll continue to report as long as you guys want on those 3 questions or any other questions that you'd like to add. And yeah, that's all that we have for tonight.
Thank you, Bill. That was extremely thorough. Thank
Any
all
questions?
of you who put that together. I appreciate it very much. And I see I'm lighting up here like a Christmas tree. So, Mr. Mason.
Okay.
I just have one quick question. Given the lead time of that coupling that we're waiting on, it's like 2 months, I think it was. Are we looking at maybe getting a spare? Because I worked in
What's going? I don't know what's going on here.
Do I?
I've got some echo.
You got 2 spare? Okay, that's what I just want to make sure. Because, yeah, I've worked in industrial pumps for 4 years, and those go out all the time. So I'm glad that y'all have 2 spares. Thank you very much.
Mr. Lawler.
Yeah, did we look at, I guess, gee, I forgot the word now, I'm drawing a blank, my brain is gone. Staffing. I didn't see that there was anything in there about staffing of the pumps, how many people we should have, and qualifications for that sort of thing.
Well, we did look at that. I haven't reported on that yet.
I can wait.
I will report on that. You know, I think we're gonna, you know, a lot of that has to do with what the results are of this scan or this audit of the SCADA systems and how we're gonna improve that. But yes, that's on the list. Thank you.
Okay, it looks like we got rid of the Marvin Bow pumping page off the website now.
Oh, really? I don't know. Did y'all know that?
Yeah, that was something that I believe was overlooked. It was left on there from a previous effort from years ago.
Okay.
And it was not accurate. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Okay.
That's good.
Mr. Dawson, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I know that we ask a lot to be done in a short period of time, and I am as impressed as anybody can be with how quickly this work has gotten done. I applaud the administration, the managers, Mr. Dawson, for your outstanding report of how this happened initially, and then what we have done to make sure that it never happens again. My only question is, we are taking what we've learned and applying it at all of our pumping stations. So
That's correct.
will you update us perhaps next month with what's been done there to accomplish what has been accomplished at, and how much of what we have accomplished at Marvin Borough have we also accomplished at other places? And I failed to mention, James, I appreciate you too. Let's know that this is happening at every pumping station, including this one that somehow I was trying to like, where in the world did that thing come from at Bayou Conway? I don't think I've ever seen that. And so I need a trip out there on the same day that I go back and see the pumping station at Marvin Borough. I'd like to see that Conway pumping station as well. And are we doing these same things? Put it in writing for us that these same things are being done at those stations so that we don't lose another one.
So yeah, I think they added $20,000 to the contract there at Sorrento for SCADA, and that's really what I assume that's. I know we've talked to them and said, listen, we're going to have a specification on how what type of equipment and which vendor is going to be our preference, and we want you guys to comply with that. So
Excellent.
the answer, I think the short answer is that all 3 pumping stations, they're going to be addressed. And additionally, like you have the gates and you have the other equipment that's associated with drainage, and we want to bring those in too.
And we'll be adding the weir, because that will have SCADA. So we need to have good procedures and et cetera on that, the tilting weirs. And then I think that at some point, we also need to make sure everything is right at Fish Bayou. All of the places that we send people to operate this equipment, we need to know that it's being done with their safety in mind, as well as the safety of the citizens that those things are there to protect. Likewise at Henderson Bayou. So if you will, in your next report, include each one of those facilities, those major facilities for drainage we have, and let us know what has been done there to learn from our mistakes at Marvin Bro. I see some other, now we're lighting up, it's like a Christmas tree again. Mr. Lambert.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thing of with the fire marshal found with was it the safe house or was it the bay that they was concerned?
No, it's the upstairs house when you first come in, which is where I call it where the deer heads are. But it's where they have the screens and they can watch what's going on. And the firewall is the separation between that and the pumps. But he didn't say it was not sufficient. What he said is that we didn't look at it and we have to come back and verify that it is. It's a concrete block wall, so I mean I don't know, but I would assume that maybe you get a 2-hour rating out of that.
I got you. Well, I know we'll be headed into Henderson with safe house better than what we have and other ones that are coming online. So yeah, I'd like to get that caught early.
Okay.
Mr. Wagasback.
Yeah, just a quick comment. I was going to say, just for time, and we're very focused on the pumping station, the standard operating procedures. Would it make sense? I think Johan and Jade have both done a good job with the work orders. Would it make sense to just put that as a report and questions as needed, just to save time on these nights?
Soon.
Obviously, that would be everybody else's decision also, but
Actually,
just
it
a
gets to be
suggestion.
mine.
Just for a couple, yeah, it's actually yours. So just maybe for a couple months while we're focusing on this, maybe put those as a report to the board and we do questions as needed or post them on the website. I don't know.
Well, I'd like
Just
to.
a suggestion, that's all.
I appreciate the suggestion, but I'm more about us hearing and the public hearing what we have done. So at this point, I'd like to continue to do these reports exactly as they've been done, and then if we get a month or so down the road and we're all caught up and everybody feels like their questions have been answered, then we can have them as standard reports that are just kind of high-level stuff. If that's okay with everybody else, it's okay with me.
Whatever you wish.
I'm loving this. I'm loving it. Yes, Mr. President.
Yeah, I want to make sure what we're saying here, what we ask, and so we don't want our standard Jade or Johan reports, our monthly reports.
Oh, no, that's not what he said.
No, I was just suggesting
Add
for time
these.
while we're doing this. She said no, she wants to continue having them. So
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah, that's
continue
fine.
I want to continue to stay focused on these things first, and
Yes.
then after we are all satisfied, you all are satisfied, we're satisfied, then we'll put those things as standard reports every month. If anything's changed, you say something has changed. This is what we're going to be doing.
So we're not stopping?
No.
Okay, good,
No.
good. That was my concern. Good.
We're not stopping until we're all satisfied. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Dawson.
Motion to adjourn?
The chair has entertained that motion, and we are done. Thank you all so much.